Hi, I'm John Nerrell, and welcome to the Mid-Career GPS podcast. If you're feeling stuck in your career and overwhelmed by what steps to take, I can help you. As an executive and career transition coach, I help my clients prepare, position, and promote who they are and what they do to show up and find a job they love or love the job they have. It's time to start building your mid-career GPS. So let's get started. Happy New Year, my friends. Welcome to 2022 and welcome to season 2 of the Mid-Career GPS podcast. I am excited you are here for this special New Year's Day episode as we kick off 2022. Hope you had a great night. Hope you had a great holiday season. And more importantly, I hope you are excited for the new year. In this year, I hope you are ready to either find the job you love or love the job you have. Whatever that's going to be for you, this is your year to figure that out. And in today's episode, I'm going to talk with you about goal setting. A little bit about why we actually go ahead and set goals, or maybe some of you set New Year's resolutions. But I'm going to break this whole goal setting process down for you a little bit differently than perhaps what you've heard. In fact, I like to think of my goal setting process as easy and not overwhelming. Now, it doesn't mean that the goals themselves are easy, but the process is far easier and simplified. And I'm going to share that with you in just a few moments. Now, if you want to get a jump start on all of this, you can go to johnnerrell.com/2022 goals to get your free, easy, and not overwhelming guide to setting and crushing your goals for 2022. Just click on that link. There'll be a link in the show notes, or you can go to my website, johnnerrell.com/2022 goals. It's under the services tab on my website. You'll see it there as well. And download this 10-page worksheet. You've got a lot of space to write. It's totally okay. Like I said, this is easy and not overwhelming. But go to johnnerrell.com/2022 goals and get your goal setting guide right now. Of course, if you're driving, don't do that. Wait till you get home and you get into a safe space. But since it is New Year's Day, and New Year is a great time to think about all the stuff we're going to accomplish in the new year, where does this whole idea about goal setting come from? Well, when I think about it, as human beings, we have always had goals, whether we were clearly aware of it or not. I mean, we have a basic survival instinct that we need food. There's a goal to eat every day. Back in prehistoric times, when we had to go and hunt for our food, there was a goal that you either ate or you got eaten. But now, of course, we're a little more civilized. We have an easier way of getting food to our door. Thank you, meal delivery services and DoorDash and Grubhub and all those kind of things. But in goal setting, when it comes to our lives and our careers, we can actually go back to 1968. One of the leaders in the whole notion about goal setting theory is Edwin Locke. And in 1968, he wrote an article called Toward a Theory of Task Motivation and Incentive. And in that article, what he shared was that employees are more motivated when they have a clearly defined goal, and there is a system in place to provide feedback around how well they are progressing to or achieving that goal. Now, in an upcoming episode, we're going to talk more about performance appraisals and getting ready for them. And obviously, Q1 is a huge time for performance appraisals. So stay tuned for that. That's coming. But what Locke also said was that when it came to goals, they had to be specific and measurable. But what that meant was that they were clear, they were challenging. You as the employee were committed to that goal, And ideally, in the work situation, you and your supervisor are committed to that goal as well. And there's a feedback loop in place. The other thing is that when we talk about goals being challenging, they're complex on some level. If goals were easy, we wouldn't get all ramped up trying to achieve them. I'm sure many of you have heard about SMART goals, and SMART goals are specific, measurable. The A can stand for actionable, achievable, attainable, realistic, and timely. And a lot of companies and a lot of you use SMART goals, and they work. They're great. If they work for you, fantastic. But oftentimes, when it comes to setting goals, there is a societal pressure about having them, achieving them, and sharing them. So, why do you have a goal? Well, maybe this goal this year for you is something personal or professional. It might be about losing weight. It might be about getting a new job. It's something in a capacity for whatever is important to you that you want to devote your time and attention to doing. But then there's that piece about sharing them. And I want to be really clear about this with you. Your goal, you do not have to share it. There is nothing that says you need to go on social media and put your goal out there and think that everybody is going to hold you accountable to achieving that goal. In the few days leading up to me recording this episode, I've already seen people start posting about how they were going to be healthier and they were going to do this in their job and they were going to do this in their career and everything. And if that motivates you and that helps you, by all means, I am not here to stop you from doing that. But I will tell you, unless they are really close to you and they're a true partner in your life and career, their attention on your goal is as fleeting as how quick their finger swipes up on the screen. It's your goal. It is personal for you, and that's it. I want to take some time in this episode to just open up some space for you to pause. And I want you to think why you are setting goals or you have chosen to not set goals for this year, because there is some kind of motivation behind that. When I was younger, I loved going out to New Year's parties. There was something about being in a room full of people and holding that glass of champagne or your drink, whatever it was, and you count down and the new year starts and you're all there sharing the excitement of the new year. And then one year, somebody hit me on the way home after a New Year's party. And that kind of ruined it for me going out. Now, none of us were hurt or anything like that, but what a great way to start the year, right? So I really enjoy staying home on New Year's. And as I've gotten older, I don't always stay up to watch the ball drop. Sometimes we end up setting Alexa to wake us up at 11:57. We stay up for a few minutes, watch the ball drop, Happy New Year, go back to sleep. It's really exciting in this house. And I absolutely love it, right? But there is something about turning the calendar on a new year that feels like a fresh start. It's a way for you to acceptably, I don't even know if that's a word, change your thoughts around what's going on in your mind and adopt some new habits or actions. The truth of the matter is, it's just another day. It's just the calendar is structured to help us keep track of time and measurement on things. So in this goal setting worksheet that I have for you that's linked up in the show notes and on my website, johnneral.com/2022 goals, this exercise is a chance for you to spend time with your thoughts. It isn't an exercise to just say, hey, I'm going to go get a new job, or hey, I'm going to go lose weight, and then I'll go ahead and do it. We have to do more than that. And this is where it gets a little uncomfortable. And it's also where goals get to be overwhelming. Stay with me on this for a minute. So, is overwhelm a thought or a feeling? I've wrestled with this because, in all honesty, I see it as both. I can think that I'm overwhelmed, and it can lead to some physical symptoms or emotions to help me be overwhelmed. Classic example was us trying to get ready for Christmas. We both got so wrapped up with work and everything that it just kind of snuck up on us. And there was a point in time at the beginning of December, I thought, oh, I don't know if we're going to make it. And Richard often jokes with me and he jokes with people and laughs with me about this. But for about the past 7 years, I have maintained what I call the Christmas spreadsheet. Now, in the spreadsheet, I list everybody who we give a gift to. There is a budget for each person because we have to have a budget, right? So there's a budget. Then it's what the item was, what it retailed for, what I actually paid for it. Is it purchased, wrapped, given, or shipped? I project manage the hell out of this spreadsheet. And oftentimes Richard will come to me and he'll be like, did we get a gift for so-and-so? And I'll be like, it's in the spreadsheet. You have to check the spreadsheet. Like if he buys something and he doesn't put it in the spreadsheet, like it's that kind of thing, right? But the spreadsheet stops the whole process for me from being overwhelming. Because anytime I felt like I was getting overwhelmed in December, all I had to do was go back to the spreadsheet. And I knew what could get done, what needed to get bought, what needed to get done, when it needed to be shipped. And as I shared with you in the previous episode, everything changed for us about less than a week before Christmas. All of our plans got scrapped because of people getting sick with COVID or people cutting back on their how many people they wanted to have in their house, and they didn't want us to travel and stuff like that. So, okay, I just go back to the spreadsheet. When you have a goal that allows you to ground yourself in what needs to be done and focused, that's when you've got a process that will help you. Life gets hard. Work gets challenging. You may have a coworker or boss that taxes the hell out of you. So it can be really easy to feel overwhelmed. But that's usually as a result of some kind of pressure or stress in getting things done or meeting some kind of demand or deadline, or it's around some kind of thought in your head that you feel as if you are not meeting. I work with a number of salespeople in my practice, and it's really fascinating to me how they handle their quarterly, their monthly, or even their yearly goals. There is something about a phenomenal salesperson where they just know they're going to get it done. They know what they need to do in order to get that amount of money in sales for that quarter to meet that goal. And then they do it and they just go on to the next one. They're really good at managing the overwhelm because they're focused on their goal and their process. But being overwhelmed is something that is just part of our lives. It is also a choice. We can choose to be overwhelmed. As I'm entering into the 5th year of my business, I have seen this throughout the last 4 years. And I've also seen this throughout my career. It is a choice as to whether or not I want to be overwhelmed. So for me, part of my goal in 2022 is just to slow down and focus on one main goal for my business and one main goal for me personally. One goal in 2 main areas of my life that are going to get my attention That's it. Now, I know I said earlier that you can make a choice how to share it and everything like that. For the purpose of this episode, I am going to share this with you because I want to let you in a little bit on where my thought process is in how I've created this goal. So let me start with the business one. So one of the things that I have noticed in my business over the last few years is that I really haven't given a lot of attention to my email list. Now, growing an email list is certainly part of a business. And in all honesty, I believe that it is the most valuable part of an email list because when somebody lets me into their email inbox, that's sacred space. They're letting me in, and I can see when they're opening the emails and they're reading them or they're clicking on a link. And for me, the email list is all about value. I want to be able to add value to my email list each and every week. And from time to time, I'm going to sell some stuff because as a business owner, that's what I do. But over the last year or so, I've kind of gotten away from growing the email list. And so that's my goal this year. Now, what I know is that if I focus on growing the email list, everything else is going to take care of itself. So getting new clients, launching a new program, getting speaking engagements, meeting great people for podcast guests, all those kind of things. But the focus is how do I grow the email list? When I set that goal and I define why that's important to me, and I put in place what I need to do to achieve the goal and how I'm going to feel once I've achieved the goal, and I identify the roadblocks and I put the accountability structures in place and I find a way to progress monitor, then that is the only thing I focus on. Anything else that chooses to come into my mind, classic example is people who reach out to me on LinkedIn and they'll be like, hey, I can help you grow to a 7-figure business. Or, hey, would you like to get part of this? You have an app for your business. I'm like, no, it's not part of my plan right now. The clarity of the goal allows me to clearly move in the direction I need to achieve it. That is when a goal is easy and not overwhelming because you have the clarity around it. Now, when it comes to my personal life, my personal health, if you will, I shared in a previous episode how I started working with a health and wellness coach. His name is Jonathan McLernan. I had him on the podcast earlier. The holidays been a little rough, not going to lie. Kind of got off the wagon a little bit here. But for me, yes, there is a number in mind that I want to see on the scale. In order to achieve that number, there are things that have to happen in order for me to do that. And to be clear, it is not about eating Brussels sprouts or kale. Because unless the Brussels sprouts are covered in bacon fat, I'm not going to eat them. And kale, God bless you if you like kale. It's like something I'm not liking right now. So why would I force myself to do something like that? But Jonathan and I have a very clear plan for what that's going to be. And he's my accountability partner on that. Same thing. When you are clear about the goal, you are decisive in how you choose to take the steps to achieve that goal. When you think about creating a goal for yourself, part of that goal is about having a plan. It doesn't do any of us any good to put a goal out there without thinking and developing a plan to help us achieve it. In other words, we can't just say to our spouse, our loved one, our boss, whatever, I'm going to work harder this year. What does that mean? What does that look like? we have to get clear about what it is we are planning to do in relation to that goal. There is an episode coming up over the next couple of weeks where we are going to talk about mindset and strengths. And you are going to hear about clarity in our words and getting rid of what I like to call coach speak. Stay tuned for that one. Make sure you listen to that one. Like I said, I've been actively planning this second season of the Mid-Career GPS podcast. I am thrilled I get to bring this all to you. What I want you to take away from this conversation today, though, is that what if there was just an easier way to set goals? First, we begin with a thought. There is something going on in our brain that is saying to us that achieving this goal is important to us. So with that, what if achieving a goal is just something we do? That in essence, it's already a reality. So if you want to be at a certain weight, you want to get that new job, you want to make a certain amount of money, what if that goal was already achieved in your mind? And in doing so, it's non-negotiable. Non-negotiable meaning that you are someone who achieves goals. And if for any reason you don't achieve that goal, you are going to go down swinging like hell. You are going to do everything in your power to make sure that that goal is achieved. And if you don't, you have clear action steps and data and evidence to go back and figure out what you need to do differently to achieve the goal. Secondly, you need a very simple plan. And that's where the worksheet comes in. So go to johnnarroll.com/2022 goals. Go on my website. It is under the services tab on the website. You can link up to it in the show notes. johnnarroll.com/2022 goals. Get the worksheet and work through it and let this process clearly define for you what your goals are going to be this year. Thirdly, we need accountability. Who is going to hold you accountable for taking the steps toward achieving the goal? Please don't say yourself. Because if you are somebody who is more inclined to let you off the hook or be a little enabling, you might need someone who's a little bit more stronger in helping you achieve that goal. I had to pause there for a minute. More stronger. I'm like, oh, my grammar teacher would kill me on that. My editor would just shudder seeing those words on the page. You need accountability, right? That's why we have people in our lives who are there for us, who have our backs, who are there to support us. So one of the things I do as a coach, I set up accountability structures with my clients. So they will follow through on what is important to them. And lastly, once you fill out the worksheet, go back to it. Go back to it on a daily basis, or at least a regular basis. Let it be the way to ground you in reminding you why these goals are important. Because if you don't, they quickly get swept away. They're not top of mind. Our brain wants to start thinking, oh, it's never going to happen. We have to tell our brains that this is what's important. This is what we are focusing on. And we think about how we are going to feel when we get that new title, when you're a manager, senior manager, director, senior director, VP, SVP, EVP. How are you going to feel when you ascend and elevate to that title? How are you going to feel once you make a certain amount of money? You have a certain number of people you're managing. You're working for a certain company. Those are the things that are the transformation in achieving the goal. They're the results of what happens when we achieve the goal. The transformation is what is happening along the way as we get there, what we're learning to do to achieve that goal. If you don't revisit the goal daily, you're going to forget about it. And when we forget about our goals, it's when we let other things start to take priority and importance over the things that are most important to us. Your goal or your goals is what's going to help keep you driven and centered for 2022. So let's take some time to really dig deeply and flesh out what these goals are. And let's get that plan in place. Goals do not have to be overwhelming. Goals can be easy. Goals are important to you. And when goals are important to us, we show up and we follow through to make them happen. In today's episode, I shared with you a process to help you create your goal, singular, for 2022 so that setting the goal is easy and not overwhelming. I talked with you about the importance of this goal and being clear around why it's important to you and what you need to do in order to hold that goal with fidelity so you never lose sight of it, especially when things get tough and things get challenging. One simple goal to keep you focused for the entire year. Now, if you want to get the worksheet, remember, you can click on the link in the show notes or go to johnneral.com/2022 goals, or you can find it under the services tab on my website. Go ahead, download the worksheet and start using this process to help you plan what your goal is going to be for 2022. Now, throughout this episode and throughout this entire podcast, the goal is helping you build your mid-career GPS. Today, you set a goal for 2022. And remember, you build your mid-career GPS 1 mile, 1 step, 1 goal at a time. And how you show up matters. I am excited to be back with you in a few days for another episode. Stay tuned, my friends. Some great things are ahead. Let's make 2022 the year you find the job you love or love the job you have. I'll talk to you next time. If you enjoyed today's episode and don't want to miss another one, follow on Apple Podcasts or wherever you usually listen, and kindly remember to rate and review. Visit johnneral.com to download your free job search tracker and other free mid-career GPS resources right there on my homepage so you can start building your mid-career GPS. Come join my private Facebook group at Your Mid-Career GPS and join an amazing community of people like you who are all working to figure out whatever is next for themselves and their careers. And don't forget to connect with me on LinkedIn and follow me on social at John Neral Coaching. I'll see you next time.